Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Been away for a while, delighted to be back, and I should be saying compliments of the season. All of January, hopefully, still, it's authentic all of January to use that greeting. So compliments of the season to you. Good to be back. Yesterday, Amotekun, the Western Nigeria Security Network, was our subject, and we had a constitutional lawyer talk to us about it. And, well, as you know, there's a lot of talk going on. So what exactly? The Attorney General has said that it's an illegal formation. All sorts of groups, have also commented. Some say, well, the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba has written on it, Arewa has written on it, Arewa Consultative Forum has spoken on it. They say it's illegal entirely. And by contrast, Arewa Consultative Youth Forum has said that, no, there's nothing wrong with it. Oh dear, all sorts of people are commenting. So I guess yesterday we wanted to hear what you at home feel. Today, the phones, unfortunately, it weren't cooperating yesterday, but today the phones are fine, and so we'll be hearing from you. First of all, just to refresh our memory, if that is needed, let's look at the background reports. We have a number of them, and then we'll take calls from home.
7th of January, governors from the southwest region of Nigeria launched Operation Amotekun, a security strategy to combat rising cases of killings and kidnapping in the zone.
We are going to ensure that those who are going to work are properly trained.
Remain keenly aware that we cannot achieve anything in a state of insecurity.
A few days after the formation, the federal government, through the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, declared the new paramilitary outfit, bankrolled by the 6 state governors in the region, as illegal. The Minister of Justice explained that the power over defense in the country is expressly vested in the federal government through the exclusive list. He said no other tier of government is saddled with any power to act in that area. Senior lawyers react to his pronouncement with mixed feelings.
In Imo, in Abia, we have vigilante that help the police in combating crime, in securing communities. So Amotekun is like a vigilante. But legally speaking, you may not find anywhere in the Constitution where anybody is permitted to operate a vigilante. It's something that we fashion for ourselves to complement the police and other security agencies.
Speaking for myself as an individual, I do not see that outfit as a police formation. I do not see anything different in the outfit. And if you like, without any intention to diminish, all right, the idea, vigilante group.
Number one fundamental right in our constitution is protection of human life. And therefore, we cannot be discussing security in relation to constitutional lists when the basic principle, the number one principle of our citizenry is protection of human life.
They advised the two parties on the next line of action. This is certainly not the last to be heard about the raging controversy, as the governors might end up in courts to get a clear legal interpretation.
I think the Attorney General is right in his contention, but arid legalism may not be the panacea. I believe there is still room for the governors of the Southwest to consult with the federal government on the operational use of Amotekun.
Take the matter to court to challenge the legality, because pronouncement of legality or illegality of the acts of 6 governors is a judicial function.
This is certainly not the last to be heard about the raging controversy, as the governors might end up in courts to get clear legal interpretation on the matter. Ayodele Ozubaku, TVC News, Lagos.
And so that really, as it were, sort of sums up what reactions have been so far. In fact, Arewa Consultative Forum has referred to the formation of the group, were the Amotekun, Western Nigeria Security Network, Amotekun, as a regional tribal network, as they put it. And they have said that what the states should do is go to court. Now, I've also heard commentary that no, we're not going to court. If anybody has issues with it, you take us to court and let's go and argue it there. So it does look like something of a knot. But the issues are that there is insecurity, not just in the Western region, but all over the country, as a matter of fact. And the fact that in our security architecture, there are gaps. And it was felt that organizations like the Western Nigeria Security Network would help plug those gaps. But then perhaps there's another concern that, well, if the guys in the Southwest do this, other states will follow suit, and before we know where we are, there'll be a plethora of these organizations, and I've even heard it said that this will not gel too much with the concept of national unity. We intend to hear from you, and I hear that Mr. George is already on the line in Ikeja. Good morning, Mr. George. Mr. George, are you there? I think we'll just check our systems here, just in case the volume is down somewhere and where it should be up. But as I was saying, there's this question of, no, we're not going to court, you take us to court. How will it work? Because it's all about the security network. It's all about, the security architecture, I beg your pardon. And the point is made that it is only the police that have the authority to, conduct security operations. We've also heard that there are other security organizations in other parts of the country, the Northeast, the Northwest. Hisba, I believe, the Sharia police that enforces Sharia. That how come that's okay, but Amotekun is not okay? How come the Joint Civilian Task Force is okay, but Amotekun is not okay? In the face, it is said by people who are putting forward that position, of a lot of unsavory actions, cattle rustlers, Fulani, machine gun toting herdsmen, allegedly, and all that kind of thing. Enough is enough must have been the impression of the governors that came together in the Southwest to form a group. Now, the whole question about whether or not they'll be bearing arms doesn't come into play, because it has been stated that they will not bear arms. And just looking at the papers this morning, Governor Fayemi says that Amotekun actually aligns with Buhari's security vision. Yet the Attorney General who has spoken was no doubt speaking on behalf of the government. At least that's the way you take it. When one minister speaks, usually you say the federal government has said. So there is the quagmire. Amotekun, which, by the way, I think is it's a leopard. It's the Yoruba name for a leopard. Is causing a lot of brouhaha. Arewa Consultative Youth Forum and Shetima Yerima, who's heading up that organization, has put out information. It's put out in the press that, look, there are some instances where it is said that we are against it. He says no, he's not. He's not against it. Neither is Arewa Consultative Youth Forum against it. In fact, I was reading somewhere that he said that, look, I actually support the whole idea of state police. So why would I not go along with this? But it's been put out there. Maybe until we get Shetima Yerima to speak for himself. But in the press, that is the notion. So again, the question is, we want to hear what you think. We got a call, but we're not sure what's going on. Mr. George was on the line. So I don't know what's going on. But, okay, we'll be good. In the meantime, again, there have been some very, very caustic impressions about this. On the one hand, it is felt that perhaps the federal government itself is not being as fair as it could be in just wiping this whole thing out. As I said, it's a very delicate one, some are saying, because the whole issue of national unity, which I think is the fear, that seems to be the fear, that if individual states, which the statement by the Attorney General has clearly pointed out, that if people begin to do this kind of a thing, that is set up these security networks, the idea is that they could be abused. You might have seen Vox Pop video packages that have viewed this opinion, whereas there are some who are very, very strongly in support as, look, it's almost as good as a panacea. This is something that we need. Instead of things happening, there not being anyone to check anything, at least when there's a certain kind of a force, people would be a bit more reticent. But then, as I said, that's on one side. The other side is, no, there's too much that could go wrong about the whole Amotekun situation. So this is not going away, as Ayo Zubakun in that report said. It's not going away anytime soon because people are digging in. People are, Yoruba leaders have said that, you know, it's an idea, it's come to stay. I don't know how helpful that kind of talk is because the federal government is the federal government. Perhaps the issue is that there wasn't sufficient consultation, but then again, the Attorney General has said that it doesn't matter. You, either individually or as a group of states, you can't do that. This also brings into, as you can see, apparently there's been a lot of preparation, but maybe the preparation didn't include some people that needed to be included because they have been asked to disband. I don't know how readily that is going to happen, but that's the situation we have on our hands. Disband Amotekun. It's an illegal organization. And of course, there are howls of protest that, no, we can't do that. Then the whole matter of the law, they say it's unconstitutional. And, you know, learned SANs have spoken on the matter. But it still comes down to, what do we do about the security problem? And by the way, looking at the argument of Arewa Consultative Forum, they point out that the chief, in his statement it has released, points out that the governor is the chief security officer of a state, and that in any case they offer logistic support to the police. So why don't they just continue that and develop that? That might be a way out. Well, no doubt the governors would have considered those options as well, but in their wisdom still came up with Amotekun. Let's look at another report.
From the southwest region of Nigeria launched Operation Amotekun, a security strategy to combat rising cases of killings and kidnapping in the zone.
We are going to ensure that those who are going to work are properly trained.
Remain keenly aware that we cannot achieve anything in a state of insecurity.
A few days after the formation, the federal government, through the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, declared the new paramilitary outfit, bankrolled by the 6 state governors in the region, as illegal. The Minister of Justice explained that the power over defense in the country is expressly vested in the federal government through the exclusive list. He said no other tier of government is saddled with any power to act in that area. Senior lawyers react to his pronouncement with mixed feelings.
In Imo, in Abia, we have vigilante that help the police in combating crime, in securing communities. So Amotekun is like a vigilante. But legally speaking, you may not find anywhere in the Constitution where anybody is permitted to operate a vigilante. It's something that we fashion for ourselves to complement the police and other security agencies.
Speaking for myself as an individual, I do not see that outfit as a police formation. I do not see anything different in the outfit. And if you like, without any intention to diminish, all right, the idea, vigilante group.
Number one fundamental right in our constitution is protection of human life. And therefore, we cannot be discussing security in relation to constitutional lists when the basic principle, the number one principle of our citizenry is protection of human life.
They advised the two parties on the next line of action. This is certainly not the last to be heard about the raging controversy, as the governors might end up in courts to get a clear legal interpretation.
I think the Attorney General is right in his contention, but arid legalism may not be the panacea. I believe there is still room for the governors of the Southwest to consult with the federal government on the operational use of Amotekun.
Take the matter to court to challenge the legality, because pronouncement of legality or illegality of the acts of 6 governors is a judicial function.
This is certainly not the last to be heard about the raging controversy, as the governors might end up in courts to get clear legal interpretation on the matter. Ayodele Ozubapo, TVC News, Lagos.
Okay, sorry about that. That's a repeat of the first story. I was expecting that you'd get another story, because there are quite a number of other stories. And oh, by the way, as I said, there's no shortage of opinion on this whole Amotekun brouhaha. In fact, one time, a former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode, has actually said that he's not very surprised that the federal government is not keen on Amotekun. Although the reason he ascribed to that finding of his is that, you know, as far as he's concerned, the federal government is not going to do anything to jeopardize the, what shall we say, the well-being of cattle rearers up and down the land. Now, that's him. That's how he puts it. But that's not the position that the federal government put forward through the Attorney General. As far as the Attorney General was concerned, it was just unconstitutional and it was an illegal organization. Okay, we'll take a break now, and then when we come back, we'll have a guest in studio, and we'll see what his impressions are, in addition to the calls that we've been trying to get from you at home. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back, and it's something of having a wee bit of a challenge, but we're working on that to get the phones working. And thank you, Mr. George, for phoning in earlier. You phoned in, we did get in, but somehow it didn't come into studio from where everybody would be able to hear what you and others would have to say. But our engineers are working on it as we speak. And so, back to the whole issue of Amotekun, the nickname for Western Nigeria Security Network. I wonder if there's a political side to it, and also, of course, there's a legal side to it, and that seems to be what the federal government is pushing. But our guest, Professor Tunde Samuel, Pro-Chancellor of Federal University, Oye-Ekiti, he feels it even has implications for the concept of true federalism. Good morning, Prof. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me here.
Indeed. So, Prof, how does this relate with federalism?
It's not a question of relationship with federalism only. First and foremost, there is need for conceptual clarity of the concept of federalism. The federal government of Nigeria is a creation of the 36 states and 774 local government councils. I've said it on set here, times without number, that states are states because the federal government is a creation of all the 36 states and the 774 local government councils. The federal government is not superior by any stretch of imagination to states. That conceptual clarity of true federalism. You cannot be greater than your creator. The federal government cannot come into existence without the 36 states and the 774 local government councils. And you will recall, on many occasions, I said it on set here, that the 36 states of the Federation and 774 local government councils, under the melting pot theory, the first pillar on which true federalism is anchored, there's no way under the melting pot that 36 states and 774 local government councils will surrender their suzerainty to bring the concept of federalism to life. It's not possible. The melting pot pillar says ipso facto that all the 36 states and the 774 local government councils are the true owners of the federation. The federal government has no, how do I put it? Not even a plot of land, except for the land use decree, and you recall the serious implications of that. So, under the concept of true federalism, the federation is weaker than the states. That's why I've been saying here that what we are practicing in Nigeria is tainted federalism.
Because it certainly isn't, in fact,
at all
that the federal government is weaker. In fact, the federal government,
it's stronger.
There are those who will say flexes a lot, as we say locally.
You see the point?
The federal government will flex a lot, and this is one instance that actually flies in the face of what you've just said. They have pronounced, without adjudication, that Western Nigeria Security Network is illegal.
Who says?
Well, the Attorney General.
In what capacity?
Federal government.
Yeah.
Federal government. Because, as you've noted, people have been saying the federal government says, speaking through the Attorney General, when Lai Mohammed speaks on whatever his subject matter is, again, the federal government has said through. So I guess people are, and I guess if he was not, if the Attorney General was not speaking rightly, there's a way in which, Aso Rock gently comes in and, lessens the tension. But so far, I haven't heard anything like that. So people are safe in thinking that this is indeed the position of the federal government, that they don't want Amotekun, codenamed the network codenamed Amotekun. They don't want it to be.
Yes, you will recall I hinted here on set later last year that as we enter 2020, we must be ready for serious political acrobatism in Nigeria. It has kicked off now.
Indeed it has, because I was surprised when I heard one group, the group eludes me now, I remember it, but it was that, look, if you don't forget this whole Amotekun idea, then it's going to cost you your presidential aspiration come 2023, because we will not support you in 2023, and you can't do it alone. Now, I said, wow, now, where's that coming from? So, in this sense, hasn't it become politicized a bit?
I hinted here on set in November.
You foresaw this?
I am not surprised, because we have twisted the concept of federalism. We have twisted it already in so many regards. Look at the federation account. under the concept of federalism, a larger chunk of the resources of this nation must go to the 36 states and the 774 local government councils, not the federal government. But the reverse is the case. We will get to a point where there will be serious legal battle in this country.
Well, because I was going to ask,
I can assure you.
If anything can be done about it. I mean, as I said, the Attorney General has pronounced. We assume he's speaking for the federal government because that's what he is. He's a minister of the Federal Republic. What can be done? It's like they have spoken, go and disband, and we've pronounced it illegal, and there's nothing more to be said. And as you can see from the visuals that we showed, a lot has gone into it. We have how many of about five states coming together to say that this is it, and now everybody's begun to comment on the matter.
Yeah.
The Yoruba chief, Arion Akakanfo, has weighed in on the matter and saying that there's nothing wrong with this. Even the former minister Fani Kaude has said that he's tweeted that he's not surprised because he feels that this government is doing all it can to protect the interests not of the citizens of the area, but of other people, other people who would come into the area. Now, there's any way we look at it, this kind of comments will come out if you stop a thing like this. So I don't even think that the federal government itself will say that it's surprised by this. But I wonder what they have in store and how this is going to go. Because Akeredolu was speaking for his brother governor, saying that if people are afraid of that, it's not a military force. It's not. It won't bear arms. But we do need to have something in place.
Yes.
And I think someone say that they were not consulted, but I don't know. All these matters. Do you think this thing can be resolved to the mutual satisfaction of all concerned?
You see, except we take the crucibles one by each and interrogate everything on its own merit. As long as we don't practice true federalism.
Which we don't. You don't need to be an intellectual. We don't. But it still is the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Nominally.
Yes.
You see, I am waiting for the governors of the affected states because there are so many things we have to trash out. All the governors are elected governors by the people. Point number one. Point number two, all the governors are the chief security officers of their states. You see, we are missing the point now. Who determines legalism in a state governed by an elected governor?
Who was voted for by the people of the area.
I don't understand.
And so the governors are reacting to the wish and the aspirations of
the
people
that elected them into office.
But the federal government says, through the Attorney General, that, sorry, you can't go there. You can't go there. Now, can we go to court with this? I've heard the commentary that we won't go to court. Let the federal government take us to court if they're not happy. Then we will go. What are we going to court for?
You see the point I've been making here. It is not for the state governors to proceed to court. It is for the federal government to now. The federal government can proceed to the court of law to test the legality of his action. Not the states. The states have done nothing wrong. Take it or leave it. The governors, all of them were elected by their people.
And most people...
And they are the chief security officers of
yes,
the state.
and most of the people in their region of influence, in other words, those who voted for them, are okay with this. In fact, they're happy. Traditional rulers...
They are.
Arewa Consultative Forum refers to it as a regional tribal organization. I don't know if the insertion of that was to denigrate it a bit, because it doesn't mean that if you're in those areas, you're necessarily exclusively a tribal person. You could still be a Nigerian, you could still be a nationalist, you could still have a pan-Nigeria view. But I think the federal government is probably being extra cautious and is saying, we can't have this, because if it starts out in the southwest, other areas will also say, you know what, we need ours too.
You can now see the kickoff of serious political acrobatism that I predicted in November. And it will go on, I said it on set here, it will go on until 2023.
And then the threat
Take it or leave it.
And then the threat that we won't support your Yoruba presidency aspirations in 2023, throwing that in, how significant is that? It goes back to what you said. That
it reduces the sincerity of purpose of those critics to nothing. Those comments lack sincerity of purpose. If they have decided to reduce it to tribal or primordial situation, which is not correct.
But the federal government, for the moment, remains mum. After Malami has spoken, nothing else has been heard. Which means that he spoke well from the point of view of the federal government.
That may not be correct.
It may not be correct.
You know, I said it about the president comment the other time here, that was a political statement. And it turned out to be a political statement. The president did not say a word. And from there. So what we are going to witness now is that we are going to test the political waters from now.
Because Amotekun is here.
Yes.
It has been established.
Of course.
You're now saying, in fact, I think people have said, the baby has been delivered.
Of course.
How do you abort it? It's been delivered. And I don't know, contrary to what you said earlier, Prof, that the federal government and weakness and that kind of a thing, you know, the federal government, could it make life uncomfortable?
For who?
For people of the Southwest.
And let us try and see.
Because clearly, it seems to me that this is what they want.
You already have said this in November. We shouldn't come. What is happening should not come to you as a surprise again. What you are saying now is just a tip of the iceberg of events to follow.
Because
it's going to get complicated henceforth.
Oh. It already is, I would suggest, but what you're saying is that it's going to get even more so. Because it depends on who you ask. Depending on what part of the country you come from, you hear people saying that this is the best thing that could have happened to us. Now we're going to be able to breathe, you know, a bit easier. And the other people are saying that, no, you can't do that. This means that now anybody else from any other part of the country is going to not be at ease in the part of the country where there are these kind of organizations. That is, if they are allowed to proliferate. At the moment, we have just Amotekun, but I think I read somewhere that people are saying that, no, we also have our own. Perhaps the coming together of all
JTF, the people cited JTF.
I cited that at the beginning of the program. There's the Hisba police that is making sure that Sharia is what it should be. And, you know,
you hardly see any Southerner saying that is a tribal organization.
Yes, nobody's saying that.
Look at it.
But I don't know if they say, they might say that, well, it's not the same. That is based on religion, and every state has the right, every area has the right to determine its own. So, you know, that kind of argument might go on. But that this one, that the youth forum, not the youth forum, I beg your pardon, the youth forum, even though they share part of the same name, Arewa Consultative Youth Forum, which says that it supports Amotekun, and Arewa Consultative Forum, which says that no, it's an illegality. And that, like the Attorney General has said, in fact, it was Arewa Consultative Forum that says that they should go to court and go and test it, I believe. And so we quite frankly, at the moment, we have a mess on our hands, by which I mean that the baby has been delivered, and people are now saying, abort that pregnancy that is coming along. Maybe they didn't consult. I heard one learned SAN say that perhaps, and just perhaps, maybe consultation might have been wider. But from what we're seeing now, if there had been consultations, it's very unlikely that...
I can only consult you if whatever I have on hand to implement is outside my power.
Okay.
I've listened to comments in the last 72 hours on this subject matter. State governments are not expected to consult anybody on security.
But when you say, I like what you've just said, if it's outside of my power.
Yes.
But the Attorney General is saying, it is outside of your power, Mr. Governor or Mr. Governors, if you come together.
To secure their states?
Well, to set up this security organization.
Oh,
but I hear what you're saying. Because they say you can secure your state using the police. But I said already that the architecture, our security architecture, has gaps all over the place.
It's almost a failure.
Yeah.
You are being economical with the truth by saying there are gaps.
I was being discreet.
So the question of gaps, it's not even a question of gaps. What I want us to be very careful about is that either in the north or in the south, when the north takes any decision, the south should avoid the tendency to see it as ethnic chauvinism. The north also should avoid to contemplate an idea that whatever the south is doing is based on ethnic chauvinism. If you look at the narrative now, in the last 72 hours, you will see the coloration. It has nothing to do with ethnic chauvinism.
That is the political coloration that is being brought to bear.
That's not correct, Yori. We cannot develop the way we are thinking now. We cannot.
Because the point has been observed that the primary function or duty of any governor is security of life and property. It is only on that foundation that anything else can be done. And since this has been threatened, it is known up and down the land that the Southwest has had its problems with security, its challenges. In fact, the traditional rulers have said that there was a time that we were blaming them, and now that they have risen to the occasion to now say that it is improper in one way or one form, quite frankly, they are aghast. They don't know how to go.
I've said it already.
So we have a stalemate.
Is it already?
We have a stalemate.
You're asking me a question that is staring all of us in the face, Yori.
Because these governors are not going to just quote unquote roll over and die on this matter.
I said it in my intro that I'm waiting for their formidability of purpose. And I'm very confident they will not chicken out. Because all of them are learned in their own right.
And this is one of the challenges of this whole situation. This is one of the challenges because there's no way you can say the bunch of governors that came together are buffoons. They know what they're talking about. They would have assumed it. But they are now saying that they didn't consult far enough. We have a stalemate on our hands, quite frankly.
I'm waiting for the formidability of their resolve. It is going to be a test case.
Maybe Is it you know, when the what's the other cattle ranching thing that was the big noise earlier? The whole Ruger thing.
Yes.
When it became too hot, the federal government gently dropped it and said, "Can we just look at other matters? Can we move on from here?" Do you think that this might also become one of those kind of things? Because I can't see people. I don't know how it's going to go. People in the region like what is going on, but it is being put out that, well, you in the region might like it, but people outside of the region that need to interact with you are not happy with it at all. Now, whose cause shall we serve?
You already know, you said it. We have a stalemate already. And it's going to be an interesting development, because it may set in motion effort to entrench true federalism.
Okay, that might be one of the benefits
ultimate
of this
stalemate.
So let's even look at,
yes.
let's examine what is federalism. If we ourselves are putting the word true.
Yes.
That's because what we have, when you see
It's
FGN, Federal Government of Nigeria, well, that's just, that's a nomenclature that we've been using. And so we have to say that true federalism is yet to come to us.
Yes. I've said it here, thanks to Mayori. Under true federalism, the states are not inferior. Point number one, to be put succinctly clear to everybody. The states are not superior to the federal government. Point number two, governors are elected by their people in the 36 states of the federation, not by the federal government. We will test the waters.
So,
we are going to test the waters.
And the import of what you're saying is that, especially you've been emphasizing that governors were elected
by their people.
You're saying that this is the collective voice of the peoples
100%
of those areas.
Yes.
So how come Mr. Malami in his office, and I've heard it said that laws are not made in the office of the Attorney General of the Federation. How come Mr. Malami now says that it's illegal? And are they going to just roll over and die, or are they going to be able to test this? And it's a bit confusing to me because the governors have said, well, no, it's not the governors, but I'm saying that's not our problem. Let the federal government take those states to court and let the judge pronounce. After all, the judge has just pronounced on the Imo State case. And whatever the situation is, we have to, there's nowhere else to go.
I've said it, I've agreed, I agree 100% with that view. We must test the waters now to determine whether we want to run true federalism or not. That's where we are going in the final analysis.
And if not?
There can be no if not. Yori?
If not, there can be no if not
there
to
can
true
be no
federalism. But the federalism we're running right now, there are people who, you certainly are one of them, you're not about to append the word true to the federalism that we're running now. It's federalism after its own Nigerian kind. And you seem to say that what we really need to be having is true federalism.
Yes.
You say this could catalyze that particular, shall we say, debate?
I'm interested in the development now, the current development.
Because it will give us an outlet
yes.
to air that particular issue.
We are not running true federalism. If you are running true federalism, Yori, the states are to remit money into the federation account. The federal government, under true federalism, is a mere caretaker of the fund of the Federation of Nigeria. Because you asked me of the word true. The federal government is not the owner of the financial resources of this nation. Yori, the financial resources of this nation belong to the 36 states and the 774 local government councils. Look at the situation in the United States of America. Go to Australia, take Sweden and other, take Canada again. Those who practice federalism. The state of Quebec is not developing at the same level with the state of the Toronto, the capital itself. Winnipeg, all those states are relatively autonomous. They remit account to the federation account. It's not that the federal government will go and collect money and be shunking out. You asked me for why I'm using the word true. The federal government is not expected to be a tax collector for the states. That's the genesis of the crisis in Niger Delta. That's the genesis. True federalism is the genesis of the crisis in Niger Delta. But because that is the way we've been coming all along, when we had Western region, Eastern region, Northern region, that explains our acceptance of the absurdity in our own federalism.
Well, so as you said, you're waiting on the governors to speak. And they speak, they will. Because they have already begun to speak, but...
I am interested in not only in their speaking. I'm interested in the formidability of their resolve. This is serious. Is it going to be a serious theory? Serious political acrobatism. It has started now.
In fact, there's a sense in which this is 2023 has been factored into this, whether you like it or not. Nobody's mentioning it apart from Arewa Consultative Forum. They have been quite direct and saying, no, it's not going to happen. Otherwise, you just kiss your aspiration bye-bye, which is another subject that we haven't even come to yet.
But you can see that the Arewa Youth Forum is at variance.
They are. The Arewa Youth Consultative Forum with Shetima Yerima has said that it's a lie. When I was reported as being against it, or my organization has been against it, no, we support it because we support the whole issue of state police. Another sore point for the federal government.
Not only that, Yori, in 2006, Arewa Youth Consultative Forum gave Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu award at the Amdala Hotel Kaduna, Lion Heart of the Fourth Republic. I'm very happy. I had the singular honor of collecting that award. All the political cream in the whole North, including Justice Nasir, were all there in the Amdala Hotel. Lion Heart of the Fourth Republic. So,
by the way, now that you mention his name,
yes,
I haven't heard his voice in all of this.
Justice Nasir.
No. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Asiwaju is not going. Asiwaju will not talk when he doesn't. He has to interrogate issues first.
Because people would like to hear what's your take on this. Given the closeness between him and the president, one would want to hear.
Asiwaju will not indulge in tribal jingoism. That's what is happening now. Serious tribal jingoism, fanning the ember of disunity. How many times have in the past have you had the Southerners criticizing things done in the North? Give me 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years.
So we have a quagmire, and quite frankly,
I'm happy that it has taken off earlier than expected. The political acrobatism, yes.
Well, as you said, Prof, I think I'm going to end on what you yourself said. Let's wait on the governors who came together to form this. Let's hear from them, and then that will give all of us in Nigeria
I am highly interested in the formidability of their resolve.
Okay.
I'm confident in the formidability of their resolve. They will not chicken out easily.
Because it is.
They've not gone out of their powers and responsibilities.
Okay. These are things that the federal government could test in court if it wanted
Well,
to.
no problem. Nigerians are ready to witness what is going to unfold.
Prof, thank you very much.
It's nice to be with you.
Thank you very much for coming on. Professor Tunde Samuel, Pro-Chancellor, Federal University in Oye-Ekiti. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow. And I assure you our engineers will be working around the clock. They've been working on this whole thing about the phone because, hey, what's this morning on TVC without the almost indispensable, addition of your voice. Thank you very much for staying with us. I'm Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.